2 Samuel chapter 19. And it was announced to Joab, saying, Behold, the king weeps and mourns over Absalom. And the deliverance in that day became for mourning to all the people. And the people heard in that day, saying that the king frets for his son. And the people stole away in that day to enter into the city, as people steal away, being shamed in their fleeing in the battle. And the king hid his face, and the king cried out with a great voice, saying, O my son, Absalom, Absalom, O my son! And Joab entered to the king into the house and said, You disgraced today the faces of all your servants, delivering your life today, and the life of your sons, and of your daughters, and the life of your wives, and the life of your concubines, to love the ones detesting you, and to detest the ones loving you, that you identify today that your rulers are nothing to you, nor your servants. For I know that Absalom, if he were alive today, and even all we had died, that then it would have been pleasing before you. And now, arise, go forth, and speak unto the heart of your servants. For by the Lord I swear by an oath, that unless you should go forth, in no way should a man remain with you this night. And realize this in yourself, that this evil will be upon you over all the evil coming upon you from your youth unto the present. And the king rose up and sat at the gate. And all the people announced, saying, Behold, the king sits down at the gate. And all the people came before the king. And Israel fled, each to his tent. And all the people were arguing among all the tribes of Israel, saying, King David rescued us from out of the hand of all our enemies, and he delivered us from the hand of the Philistines. And now he fled from the land. And Absalom, whom we anointed over us, died in the war. And now, why are you silent to return the king? And the saying by all Israel came to the king. And King David sent to Zadok and to Abiathar the priests, saying, Speak to the elders of Judah, saying, Why have you become last to return the king to his house? And the word of all Israel came to the king. You are my brothers, of my bones and of my flesh. Why have you become for the last ones to return the king to his house? And to Amasa you shall say, Are you not of my bone and of my flesh? And now, thus may God do to me, and thus add more, if you shall not be ruler of the force before me all the days instead of Joab. And he leaned the heart of every man of Judah as one man. And they sent to the king, saying, You return, and all your servants. And the king returned, and came unto the Jordan. And the men of Judah came to Gilgal, to go to meet the king, to cause the king to pass over the Jordan. And Shimei, son of Gera, son of the Benjamite from out of Bahurim, hastened and went down with the men of Judah to meet King David. And there were 1,000 men with him from out of Benjamin, and Ziba, the servant of the house of Saul, and his 15 sons, and his 20 bondmen with him. And they went straight unto the Jordan before the king. And he passed over the ford to arouse the household of the king, and to do the upright thing in his eyes. And Shimei, son of Gera, fell upon his face before the king at his passing over the Jordan. And he said to the king, Let not indeed my master consider my lawlessness, and remember not as much as your bondmen did wrong in the day in which my master the king went forth from out of Jerusalem, for the king to put it upon his heart. For your bondman knows that I have sinned. And behold, I have come today, first of all, of the house of Joseph, to go down myself for the meeting of my master the king. And Abishai, son of Zeruiah, answered and said, For this should not Shimei be put to death, for he cursed the anointed one of the Lord? And David said, Why is it to me and to you, sons of Zeruiah, that you be come to me today to plot? Shall today any man of Israel be put to death? I know not that today I shall reign over Israel. And the king said to Shimei, You shall not die. And the king swore by an oath to him. And Mephibosheth, son of Jonathan, son of Saul, went down for a meeting with the king, and attended not to his feet, nor prepared his mustache, and his garments he did not wash, from the day which the king went forth until the day which he came in peace. And it came to pass, when he entered into Jerusalem for a meeting with the king, that the king said to him, Why is it that you did not go with me, Mephibosheth? And Mephibosheth said to him, O my master, O king, my bondman misled me. For your bondman said to him, Saddle to me the donkey, and I should mount upon it and go with the king. For your bondman is lame. And he used craft with your bondman against my master the king. But my master the king is as a messenger of God, and you do what is good in your eyes. For there was not any to the house of my father, but only men for death to my master the king. And you put your bondman to eat at your table. And what reason is there still to me, even to cry out still to the king? And the king said to him, Why do you still speak your words? I said, You and Ziba divide the field. And Mephibosheth said to the king, And let him take all the things after the coming of my master the king in peace to his house. And Barzillai, the Gileadite, came down from out of Rogelim, and passed over the Jordan with the king, to send him forward from the Jordan. And Barzillai was an exceedingly old man, a son of 80 years, and he nourished the king during his living in Mahanaim, for he was a very great man. And the king said to Barzillai, You shall pass over with me, and I will nourish your old age with me in Jerusalem. And Barzillai said to the king, How many are the days of years of my life, that I should ascend with the king unto Jerusalem? I am today a son of 80 years. Can I know between good and between bad? Shall your bondman still taste what I shall eat or shall drink? Shall I hear still the voice of singing men and singing women? Then why should your bondman be a load upon my master the king? For your bondman shall pass over the Jordan a little with the king. And why does my master the king recompense to me this recompense? Indeed, let your bondman be returned, and I shall die in my city, by the burying place of my father and of my mother. And behold, your bondman Chimham, my son, shall pass over with my master the king, and you shall do to him the pleasing thing before you. And the king said, Let Chimham pass over with me, and I will do to him the pleasing thing before you. And whatever orders you should give to me, that I will do for you. And all the people passed over the Jordan, and the king was established. And the king kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and returned to his people. And the king passed over into Gilgal, and Chimham passed over with him. And all the people of Judah caused him to pass over, and half of the people of Israel. And behold, every man of Israel came to the king, and they said to the king, Why is it that our brothers, the men of Judah, stole you, and caused the king and his household to pass over the Jordan, and all the men of David with him?" And the men of Judah answered to the men of Israel and said, "For the king is a near relative to us. And why is this you are enraged on account of this matter? Or in eating, have we eaten any food from the king, or a gift given to us?" And the men of Israel answered to the men of Judah and said, "There are 10 hands to me in the king, and also indeed in David I am over you. And why is it that you insult me? And why was my word not taken first to return the king to me?" And the saying of the men of Judah was hardened above the saying of the men of Israel.